So we're here on day one of Identity Week Asia 2024. I'm joined now by Transmit Security's Vice President of the APAC region, Richard Metcalfe. It's really nice to meet you today.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much for having me.
Could you just explain where Transmit Security fits in the identity and access management landscape, really?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So we focus on customer and consumer identity and access management services. And really the question that we answer is it legitimately Evie that's trying to log into our service, or someone that's pretending to be Evie may have stolen credentials, or a fraudulent actor trying to do so? What we find is whether you're in the digital team, the risk team, the IT team, the fraud team, the question that all of these executives and leaders are trying to answer is it legitimately my customer or consumer that's trying to log into the service? And currently they all have a very siloed, they all own a little bit of that technology stack, and they try and answer that question with a really narrow view of the world. So what we do is, by providing a full suite of capabilities, we enable all of these leaders to get the full picture and be able to answer those questions with a higher level of surety.
And to fight fraud, lots of organisations are investing in their infrastructure. Are they investing in the right areas, though, of this technology and the methods for verification, authentication?
Yeah, they're certainly investing a lot of money. Whether it's in the right areas is probably the question. Fraud has been obviously an ongoing business issue for many, many years. And as such, the fraudsters continually, their job is to look for new ways to take advantage of either people, process, or technologies that organizations deploy. And as such, they change their methods and their methodologies very, very regularly. The result of that is that organizations have continued to have to buy individual componentry to help address the latest fraudulent technique or approach. And what happens is that companies are spending a lot of money on a lot of tools, and they're finding it very difficult to get a consolidated view across the whole customer journey. So whether you're onboarding a new customer, whether you're authenticating and logging into a service, whether you're resetting your credentials, or whether you're performing a transaction, organizations need to look at the whole life cycle of the customer journey in a single capability set, which looks at network type behavior, behavioral biometrics, all of the environmentals, to then provide a determination in a really clear and simple way as to whether this is a legitimate user or a fraudster.
What sort of methods of verification are organisations implementing? Is there a one-size-fits-all approach, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's some fundamentals around authorization, around preference management, around various phishing-resistant authentication capabilities. But really, it needs to be very context-driven. If I'm a retailer and I have a customer or consumer just browsing, the latest specials or the sales, versus me going and potentially accessing my rewards, which I've built up over time, those two customer journeys are very, very different. And I think being able to apply context and therefore apply the appropriate amount of security based on the context of the journey and the risk appetite of the organization is really important.
And obviously, you mentioned the techniques that those fraudsters are using. You've got to change your approach, I guess. What are they doing? In terms of what sort of attacks are posing to organisations?
Yeah, it's a really interesting space. So I think what we're seeing is that the fraudsters and adversaries are certainly leveraging AI type capabilities. I think we're in the first innings of that, and we're going to see a lot more of it. But they're certainly adopting this type of new technology capability fairly quickly. We see them operating as a community very effectively and monetizing various aspects of the fraud ecosystem. And we've seen them be able to iterate very, very quickly and change their particular approaches to circumvent some of the legacy rule-based technologies that a lot of companies have deployed. I think with these three things coming together, we're going to see an increase in the volume of attacks, an increase in the variety of attacks, and an increase in the way that organizations will then need to cater to respond to this fairly rapid changing environment.
Why is it so important to get identity security correct then in the current climate?
Yeah, a lot of talk about identity being the new perimeter. I think in the customer context, it's even more important. You know, businesses have aggressively moved and a lot more emphasis now on their digital channels. It's particularly in South Asia. It's a very vibrant and highly competitive market. And I think if you a lot of organizations say, okay, well, we have to choose between great security or a great customer experience. And at Transmit, we believe that's actually the wrong discussion or the wrong way to look at it. If I definitively know that it's Evie that's logging in, or with a very high sense of confidence, I think it's Evie that's logging in, then I can give Evie a wonderful experience. If I definitively know or have a very, very high degree of certainty that it's a fraudster that's perhaps stolen your credentials, then I can obviously treat that customer journey appropriately. And I think the better conversation to have is, a great customer experience is a result of great security. And I think in the customer environment, I think that's even more important.
The two have to go hand in hand. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
speaking
much.
with me today.